Bugler, sound assembly.
I invite you all to please stand for the presentation of the colors by our police and fire color guards and the singing of the national anthem performed by the Hingham High School Concert Chorale under the direction of Dr. Smith.
Bugler, sound to the colors. Detail, uptake, hook, present, hook.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, they proved through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Countertime only. Order on. Right feet.
Right.
Forward march.
Forward march.
Detail, order, hook.
I now invite Hingham Veterans Council member Jay Ippolito to come forward and give the invocation.
Detail, make ready. Ready.
I do like it. Yep.
Almighty God, we gather here today to honor our veterans, those who have served our country so that we may continue to live our lives in freedom. During these difficult times of global unrest, we found ourselves distracted and unfocused. Please help us to be constantly reminded of the sacrifices that have been made so willingly by these brave American men and women. Guide them as they walk with courage and pride, knowing that they have done their part to keep us in a free and democratic society. Lord, we pray that you watch over them vigilantly and bestow on them and their families the peace, the love, and the joy that they so richly deserve. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. As we rightly do each year, we gather today filled with a sense of gratitude and admiration for those who have served our country in our nation's armed services. Veterans embody the best of the human spirit, driven by a commitment to duty, honor, and country. Men and women ready to serve the common good and to do so at a significant personal cost. We owe each veteran a debt of gratitude, and we stand ready to act as a community to serve your needs, never losing sight of what you have accomplished by your service. Last week, almost 1,400 Hingham voters assembled to do the work of the town in a special town meeting. Hingham has conducted such meetings for centuries. That we're able to do so as a free people living in peace is in many ways a result of what you and countless others have done through your service, have done through your willingness to preserve and defend the values upon which this nation and this town have been founded. We thank you, and we will remain resolute in addressing to the best of our collective ability your needs and those of your families. We have with us today a number of honored guests, including everyone in this room, but I won't call out all of your names. We have with us Matthew Deacon, General Counsel to the Massachusetts Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Colonel Cheryl Poppy. Earlier today at the breakfast, we had the honor of welcoming State Senator Patrick O'Connor and State Representative Joan Moschino. We have with us today Select Board Chair Lieutenant Colonel William Ramsey. We have Liz Klein from the Select Board. We have Assistant Town Administrator Michelle Monsegur, Police Chief David Jones, Fire Chief Stephen Murphy. Next, I invite the Hingham High School Band, under the direction of Mr. Brian Sincata, to perform the Armed Forces Medley. And I invite each veteran to rise as your particular service song is played. Thank you. I now invite Bill Ramsey, Chair of our Select Board, to come forward and make remarks on behalf of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I want to begin by saying that on Tuesday, this community came together and did something that was pretty amazing. We simultaneously supported our schools and our first responders, and that was absolutely awesome. We showed that we can support both a new school and a new building, and I am so proud of this town. Thank you so much for coming together and doing that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm also so happy to be up here today to be speaking with you, to be next to my good friend, Mike Puzo, our town moderator, and to not be held to 6 minutes this morning like I was last Tuesday night. So, at an event at the White House honoring POWs from Vietnam, President Reagan was describing in detail the physical and mental torture that our service members endured on a daily basis. He talked about the despair that they went through, knowing or trying to figure out, would they ever come home? Would they ever live? He described in his remarks the courage they displayed, the bond that developed between our servicemen. And then he suddenly paused. And with emotion in his voice, he asked, "Where do we find such individuals?" Well, the answer has always been clear. We find them in our streets and in our shops. We find them in our farms and in our fields. We find them in our villages and in our towns. We find them on the East Coast. We find them on the West Coast. And we find them on the Great Plains that lie in between. And we find them here in Hingham. We find them in the great work of veterans like John Asher, an individual who donates thousands of hours in our Veteran Service Office to helping veterans get the benefits they deserve, to helping Keith process those applications, all behind the scenes, never seeking public recognition, never seeking any sort of accolades for the work he does. And when his town needs him to help, never says no. We find them in the work of veterans like Scott McMillan, United States Marine Corps. Scott returned from the service, did a career for our fire department. Single-handedly for years, kept our American Legion post going, also our VFW post. He's a ranger at Bear Cove Park. The service he provides helps thousands of our residents, also at GAR Hall. The work he does over there helps all our residents enjoy that treasure. We find it in the service of Janine Suseki, United States Navy. Janine carries on the proud tradition of Hingham's female veterans, a tradition that goes back to World War II, when the female veterans of this town went over to the Bethlehem Steel Company and helped to produce a destroyer escort a day and some would argue, helped to turn the tide of the war in the Atlantic. But today, Janine, very quietly and behind the scenes, helps our veteran families in need. She does it through social media, and like John and Scott, all behind the scenes. Not seeking public recognition, no public accolades, simply because it's the right thing to do. And we find it in many, many other veterans in this town. Individuals named Beal, Burbank, Carenti, Curtis, Sargent, Smith, Rayburn, Wadley, Messmer, Cunin, many, many others. Individuals who would literally give the jacket off their back in the winter to help other veterans. They've been doing it for years around here. We find it in the ranks of our town employees. Hingham Police Department, Lieutenant John Marquardt, Purple Heart, Afghanistan. The Moriarty brothers, Tim, United States Marine Corps, Griff, currently deployed in the Middle East today. Officer Mark Bologna, heavy combat in Iraq. Our speaker today, Hingham Fire Department, a recipient of the Silver Star. Stephen Messenger runs our transfer station, retired Master Sergeant, Iraq. Art Robert, Assistant Town Administrator, Lieutenant Colonel, retired. Our Veteran Service Officer, Keith Sherman, every combat deployment since Desert Storm, and I would submit to you, the best Veteran Service Officer in the entire Commonwealth of Massachusetts. To our younger residents today who are out there, in your search for role models, as I did when I was your age, as you search for examples of character, courage, and commitment, you need not look to social media. You simply need to look to the people sitting in those seats right there. To those sitting in those seats right here in Hingham. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you. My heart is full today. Thank you.
Powerful remarks, Bill. It's now my honor to introduce our principal speaker of the day, Sergeant John Giasulo, United States Army. Allow me to read John's bio, and as you hear it, I invite you to reflect on what you're hearing, because it is the embodiment of the citizen soldier. John Giasulo's military career began when he joined the United States Army in 2006 after graduating from Billerica Memorial High School. After initial basic training at Fort Knox in Kentucky, John was sent to Fort Sam Houston for advanced individual training in order to become a combat medic. Upon completion of his training in 2007, Sergeant Giasulo was assigned to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, to a light reconnaissance company as part of the 4th Battalion, 506th Parachute Infantry Division, 101st Airborne. His deployments included 2 combat tours in Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, and he served as a line medic for Charlie Company Parachute Infantry Regiment. He conducted numerous combat operations throughout eastern Afghanistan along the Pakistan border in order to disrupt and to dismantle the Taliban and Haqqani terrorist networks. On the 7th of July, 2008, while he was conducting combat operations in eastern Afghanistan, an Afghan National Army Humvee struck an improvised explosive device, and that device destroyed the vehicle and blew it off the road. After the initial blast, Sergeant Giasulo left the safety of his own vehicle, secured his aid bag, and sprinted over 100 meters to where the destroyed vehicle lay. Exposing himself to enemy small arms fire multiple times and being completely separated from the rest of his unit, Sergeant Giasulo immediately began rendering life-saving aid to the wounded Afghans, and he returned fire on enemy positions. After the convoy was able to establish fighting positions, Sergeant Giasulo extricated the casualties from the destroyed vehicle and moved 3 survivors back up onto the road to begin coordinating an evacuation of the casualties. At this time, a second IED was detonated, and that left Sergeant Giasulo and others wounded on the road. Despite his injuries, Sergeant Giasulo placed the needs of others above his own as he continued to treat the wounded, and he stayed with his men until the mission was complete. As Bill said, for his actions and valor that day, Sergeant Giasulo was awarded the Silver Star and the Purple Heart. Sergeant Giasulo has had a very successful career in the Army, and it lasted for nearly 8 years. His awards and decorations are many, and they include the following: 4 Army Achievement Medals, 4 Army Commendation Medals, 2 Good Conduct Medals, the Silver Star for valor, and the Purple Heart for wounds sustained in action. Sergeant Giasulo is a graduate of the Army Pathfinder School and the Air Assault School. He's also the Distinguished Honor Graduate of the United States Marine Corps Mountain Warfare School, and he was selected as the 101st Airborne's NCO of the Year after an extremely rigorous and competitive selection process. Now for his final challenge, Sergeant Giasulo successfully completed the Army M6 nursing program. After retiring from active duty, Sergeant Giasulo began working on his lifelong dream of becoming a firefighter. He began his career in Ludlow, Massachusetts, with the fire department there as a firefighter paramedic. He later attended the Massachusetts Fire Academy. He was selected as the Distinguished Honor Graduate. In 2000, John transferred to the Hingham Fire Department, where he is presently assigned to Station 3, assuming collateral duties as a department mechanic, and is a member of the Plymouth County Technical Rescue Team. John earned his associate degree in fire safety and technology from Springfield Technical Community College and his bachelor's degree in fire science from Anna Maria College. Sergeant John Giasulo, Jr. lives in Pembroke. He lives there with his wife, Sarah, and their 3 children, Riley, who's 12, Danny, who's 4, and Tommy, who's 2. Ladies and gentlemen, what a privilege it is to invite forward Sergeant John Giasulo, Jr., our featured speaker, to make remarks to those assembled here in honor of our nation's veterans.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mike, for the introduction. I am honored and humbled to be here today, representing my brother and sister veterans. I would like to thank our distinguished guests in attendance. Thank you for your support of our veterans. I would also like to take a moment to thank my family for being here today, and thank you for your never-ending support. Of all the accomplishments written in that short biography about me, I think the greatest of all is just being a dad. Thank you. So here I am. My name's Johnny Giasulo. I'm a firefighter paramedic here in Hingham, Massachusetts, and I've had the pleasure of serving my country and my community over the last 15 or so years. Unfortunately for all of you, I'm the guy they picked to deliver the speech on Veterans Day. I'm told it was between me and an Air Force guy, and I gotta tell you, it feels pretty good to get a win right now. I apologize. I did have to throw at least one Air Force joke out there today. But if you've ever stepped foot in combat, you'd know that there is no more reassuring feeling in this world than when a couple F-15s or A-10s come on station. So, from a guy on the ground, thank you for owning the skies, gentlemen. If I can be honest with you all, I really did not want to give this speech. I don't really like talking about myself or my service these days. I really didn't feel like it was my place to be up here representing us. But this day is too important, and this day is not about me. It's about all of us collectively, and the sacrifices men and women like us have made for centuries. Veterans Day initially commemorated the end of the fighting of World War I, which took place in the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. Originally known as Armistice Day, it was meant to be a celebration due to the conclusion of the War to End Wars, World War I. In 1954, following World War II and the Korean War, it was renamed Veterans Day in honor of all those that have served. And so today, and every November 11th, we gather to honor all of those that have served our country. A veteran could simply be described as someone that has served in the military, but I think there's a little bit more to it than that. It's an oversimplification that does not adequately describe the sacrifices that go into being a part of the military. What it means to me is that at one point in your life, you wrote out a blank check to the U.S. government for any amount up to and including your life. Make no mistake about it, it takes courage to put your name on that contract. No matter what branch you joined or what your MOS was, it is irrelevant. It takes a lot of nerve to raise your hand and put that uniform on. When I look back now as a more mature man, a father of 3 children, a husband, I honestly don't know how I did it. It's amazing how carefree and naive you can be at 19 years old. I knew from an early age that the military would be a part of my life. My stepfather Jason and Uncle Jimmy were Marines. I have 4 other cousins who were also Marines, and my grandfather was a Royal Scots Dragoon in the 50s. I was the smartest out of all of them, so I joined the Army. I am proud to say most of us are also firefighters in the Commonwealth today. So this is essentially our family's business. Our family is intimately familiar with the lifestyle and the sacrifices that go with joining the military, and I would like to take a moment to recognize all our families, especially our Gold Star families in attendance, and loved ones who have supported us on these endeavors. As a father myself now, I finally understand your worries, and I'm sorry for stressing you out so much, Mom. It was not until I watched the Afghan withdrawal unfold that I really wrapped my head around just how much our veterans sacrifice. When you're a 20-year-old kid in Afghanistan, you can't really understand it because your only focus is the mission in front of you and survival. Reflecting on all of it now brought up a lot of emotions for me. I was angry, I was upset, but I wasn't surprised. Even 20-year-old me knew we weren't fixing this place. I found myself Googling how to re-enlist in the Army. I had the desire to help, but it was not my mission anymore. Watching the constant coverage and seeing the images coming out of Kabul, I was completely amazed at just how much our veterans are willing to give up protecting America's interests in people they don't even know. Watching the evacuation, I knew people were going to get hurt. There was too many civilians to sort through, not enough standoff or personnel. They were too exposed, and the collapse of an entire country was taking place all around them. They were handed an insurmountable task, yet they held the line. They kept the only evacuation route out of Afghanistan open, and they pulled off one of the most successful airlifts of all time. The number of evacuees stands at around 85,000 people. That's an astonishing figure. 13 of them paid with their lives, along with thousands of others who died in over 20 years of fighting. They made the ultimate sacrifice so that our Afghan allies and partners had a chance at freedom. If you are looking for role models in this country, then look no further than those 13 men and women and the countless others who participated in this mission. It was not a bunch of celebrities or athletes standing on the walls deciding who could get through and who has to stay behind. It was a bunch of 20-something-year-old kids from every corner of our country, some of which were not even alive during 9/11. Yet there they were in a foreign land trying to save civilians from a life under Taliban rule or grant them their chance at freedom. If you have watched the news much lately, you've probably seen some talking head up there telling you how bad America is, and I honestly have to laugh at them. I know we have our faults, we truly do, But if not here, where? Where else can we go? Where else in this world will you find people so willing to go into harm's way for the sake of others? When I hear people talk down about this country or its people, it bothers me. I look no further than our military and veteran populations, the silent professionals who have carried freedom on their backs for centuries. They represent the best of America and our ideals. When there is a crisis on this planet and sending thoughts and prayers on Facebook isn't working, they call on hardened young men and women who will get the job done no matter what. We don't call TikTokers, Instagram influencers, social media warriors, they call us. Don't ever forget that. Hold your head a little higher today and just know, without veterans, this world would look a lot different. It is because of our veterans that I will always have faith and believe in this country. I sincerely cannot thank you enough for allowing me this opportunity to speak with you today. Thank you all for your service, and I'm so proud to be counted amongst you. Stay safe and God bless.
Seems fitting after that address that I have the opportunity to ask you to stand as the Hingham High School Band performs God Bless America. Please resume your seats. Before we move to the awards portion of the program, I would like to make special note of thanks on all of our behalves for these wonderful young people behind me, the band, the men's chorus, the concert chorale, and Dr. Young. These are folks who have a day off, and they chose to spend it to honor veterans. And I think it's appropriate to have the community thank them for their service. And I'm glad they were here today. We're very grateful to you all. Thank you. We have a wonderful tradition in Hingham, one of many, and in furtherance of that tradition, I invite the recipient of the Veteran of the Year Award from last year, Jack Rayburn, forward to make the presentation of this year's award.
I've never fallen. Been close. The Town of Hingham Annual Hank Maud Service Above Self Veteran of the Year Award for 2022 is Lieutenant Commander Arthur Smith, United States Coast Guard, retired. Lieutenant Commander Arthur Smith has led a varied military career. He enlisted in the United States Navy in 1965, serving on the carrier USS Enterprise in the Tonkin Gulf in the Vietnam area. The Enterprise also served in support of the USS Pueblo that had been captured and held by North Korea in 1966. He was discharged from active duty in 1971. He continued to serve 2 years in the Navy Reserve at Naval Air Station South Weymouth, having risen to the rank of Aviation Electrician's Mate, Second Class. His awards from the United States Navy are the National Defense Service Medal with 2 stars, Vietnam Service Medal with 2 stars, the Navy Unit Commendation Medal, the Navy E Ribbon, the Navy Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, the Navy Good Conduct Medal, the Armed Forces Expeditionary Service Medal, the Korean Defense Service Medal, the Armed Forces Reserve Medal with 1 star. He then entered the University of Maine using the GI Bill, graduated, and began a teaching career in the Hingham Public Schools. He married Margaret, who also began a teaching career in the Milton Public Schools. He asked her permission to join the Coast Guard. Permission was granted. He entered the Coast Guard in 1976 as an electrician's mate, first class. He was assigned to Station Point Allerton and to Station Chatham. Later, he was transferred to the Marine Safety Office, Boston, as a firearms instructor. Arthur Smith followed a hallowed Coast Guard career and tradition. He is a Mustang, an enlisted man who displayed such remarkable leadership that he received a direct commission as ensign in 1985. He subsequently served on the Coast Guard cutter Reliant at the Marine Safety Team that investigated the Exxon Valdez oil spill in Alaska. He retired from the Coast Guard in 2008 with 38 years service to our country. His Coast Guard awards are the Coast Guard Achievement Medal, Commandant's Letter of Commendation Medal, Secretary's Outstanding Unit Commendation Medal, Coast Guard Unit Commendation Ribbon with 2 stars, Coast Guard Meritorious Unit Commendation Ribbon, the Humanitarian Service Medal, Department of Transportation 9/11 Service Medal, the Coast Guard Meritorious Team Commendation Ribbon, Coast Guard Reserve Good Conduct Medal with 2 stars, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, Coast Guard Special Operations Service Ribbon with 1 star, the Coast Guard Expert Rifle Medal, the Coast Guard Expert Pistol Medal, the Armed Forces Reserve Medal with the Silver Hourglass. Art Smith is known for service, tireless service to the veterans and their families of the town of Hingham. He has devoted many years to the American Legion and VFW posts. He has served in many positions in VFW Post 6053, including commander. He has served American Legion Post 120 as finance officer and adjutant. He is a trustee of the Grand Army of the Republic Hall and has served as secretary of the Seaman Herbert Foss Memorial Committee and the Hingham Veterans Council. He is especially remembered for his devotion to the elderly veterans of Hingham and their families, ensuring that they have proper medical care, transportation, and most of all, brotherly companionship. In all these activities, Lieutenant Commander Arthur Smith has shown great diligence and devotion to ensuring Hingham's veterans are remembered for their diligence and devotion in serving the United States of America and its citizens. He is proud of our veterans, and we are proud of him. Commander Smith, would you please come to the podium?
Semper Paratus.
Semper Paratus. I appreciate it.
Kind of short notice, but I have a few words. Greetings, distinguished guests, and my brother and sister veterans. It's an honor to be selected as the recipient of the Hank Maud Service Above Self Veteran of the Year. Jack kind of stole a little of my thunder, but upon returning home after 4 years of service in the United States Navy, I attended the University of Maine with the help of the GI Bill. I graduated, got a job, and asked Margie to marry me. She accepted. Within a year of being married, I told Margie that I missed being in the military and requested permission to enlist in the United States Coast Guard Reserve. And permission was granted. And I served another 28 years. And if Margie had known what she was to be responsible for when permission was granted, Margie may have had second thoughts. The life of a military spouse is not always easy. Frequently, you are a single parent, property and financial manager, often under stressful conditions. I often missed anniversaries, birthdays, family parties, our son Jordan's Little League games, sailing regattas, and other events. So I'd like to thank my family for their support and understanding while I pursued my military career. Again, it is an honor to be recognized as the Hank Maud Service Above Self Veteran of the Year. And God bless military families, God bless veterans, and God bless the United States of America.
It's now my pleasure to read certain citations, one from the Senate, one from the House. As I mentioned that Senator O'Connor was here earlier and then continued his Veterans Day obligations elsewhere in his district. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts State Senate. Be it known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to Lieutenant Commander Arthur Smith, United States Coast Guard retired, in recognition of being named Hingham Veteran of the Year for your outstanding service to the nation and for your unwavering commitment to the United States of America. And be it further known that the Massachusetts State Senate extends its best wishes for continued success, that this citation be duly signed by the President of the Senate and attested to, and a copy thereof transmitted by the Clerk of the Senate. That resolution is dated November the 11th, 2022. Next, on behalf of the House of Representatives, our local representative, Joan Moschino, having been here earlier today for the welcome breakfast. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the House of Representatives, be it hereby known to all that the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth offers its sincere congratulations to Lieutenant Commander Arthur J. Smith in recognition of your status as the Town of Hingham's 2022 Veteran of the Year and your invaluable service to the United States Coast Guard. The entire membership of the House extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all of your endeavors. Given the 11th day of November 2022 at the State House in Boston, Massachusetts, it is signed by Ron Mariano, Speaker of the House. The resolution was offered by Joan Moschino, our state representative. So it is my pleasure to give both of these citations to Art. Next, the town of Hingham is honored now to present a certificate of appreciation and a coin of excellence and a gift to today's principal speaker, Sergeant John Giasulo, United States Army. I'll read the citation and I'll invite the two members of the Select Board who were able to be with us here today to Liz. I'll read the citation. The town of Hingham and the Hingham Veterans Council would like to extend its heartfelt thanks and appreciation for your service, John, in our annual Veterans Day observance. Each Veterans Day should be a time when Americans stop and remember the brave men and women who have risked their lives for the United States of America. As President Eisenhower said, it's well for us to pause, to acknowledge our debt to those who paid so large a share of freedom's price. As we stand here today in grateful remembrance of the veterans' contributions, we renew our conviction of individual responsibility to live in ways that support the eternal truths upon which our nation was founded, and from which flows all of its strength and all of its greatness. The citation is offered to Sergeant John Giasulo, United States Army. Thank you, John, from an appreciative town and Veterans Council. This was offered by the Town of Hingham Veterans Day Committee and is since signed by our Veteran Service Officer, the Select Board, and the Veterans Council. The last award includes a proclamation from Charles Baker. It will be read by Hingham High School Veterans Appreciation Club President Charlie Niehoff and Jake Schulte, and invite both Charlie and Jake to come forward.
Commonwealth of Massachusetts, a proclamation. Whereas since the Commonwealth's colonial days, thousands of men and women have served our country in defense of freedom and liberty, and whereas on November 11, 1918, the armistice was signed in the forest of Compiègne by the Allied nations of Germany, ending World War I, the war to end all wars, after 4 years of conflict. And whereas since that day, every November, a ZAC people from around the nation have gathered to honor our veterans, and whereas there are approximately 300,000 veterans living in Massachusetts, and whereas today we are reminded of the great sacrifices and contributions our veterans have made to our country, and whereas we honor and salute those who served our country throughout the generations with honor, patriotism, and courage.
And whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who served their country, so that their dedication and sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. And whereas in November 2022, the world will commemorate the 104th anniversary of the armistice that ended the fighting in World War I at 11 a.m., November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th month. Now, therefore, I, Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2022 to be Veterans Day, and urge all citizens of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Given at the Executive Chamber in Boston this 11th day in November in the year 2022, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 246th. By His Excellence, Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth, Karen E. Polito, Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth, and William Francis Galvin, Secretary of the Commonwealth. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Thank you, Charlie and Jake. Next, it's my privilege to invite you to hear a beautiful piece, a poignant piece, the title of which is Tell My Father. It comes from a lovely song cycle, a Broadway musical, The Civil War. Dr. Joseph Young will now conduct the Hingham High School Men's Chorus. This is a story of a young man facing his mortality in the war, the Civil War. Tell My Father. Thank you, Dr. Young. Thank you, Hingham High School Men's Chorus. Thank you to our soloists and the beautiful playing of the violin. So, now that you've sat down, please stand. Jay Ippolito will return and give us the benediction. He will invite you to remain standing as the colors are retired. After that, that will conclude the indoor portion of the Veterans Day ceremony. As the color guard passes by, of course, we need to kind of stay in our seats. But then I would ask you, once the color guard has moved outside, that we immediately, with dispatch, follow them to the Veterans Memorial for the traditional wreath-laying ceremony, and we can have wonderful conversation, I'm sure, outside. But Jay, if you'd come forward, do the benediction, and then we'll move ahead.
Thank you. Lord God, we love you, we honor you, and we adore you. We put our faith and trust in you to protect and support those who have given so much of themselves to serve the armed forces of the United States of America. As we prepare to close the ceremony, help us to remember always what precious gifts our veterans are to us and to this great nation. Let us honor them not just today, but every day. May the appreciation of their service be held in the highest regard by future generations. We also ask for special blessings, O Lord, for our veterans who have given their lives for this country, for those who are homeless, sick, mentally and emotionally challenged, or alienated in any way from their families. Please bestow on them your great love and mercy. God bless our veterans, and God bless America. Amen.
Again, I invite you to remain standing until the colors have passed by, and then to follow immediately out to the Veterans Memorial for the wreath-laying ceremony. Thank you.
Detail, attend, ho! Bugler, sound retreat. Parade colors. Reset, ho! Order! Halt!
Jay, you want to follow him right out?
Detail, fall out!
We'll proceed immediately to the memorial outside for the wreath-laying ceremony.
Sound to the colors! Detail, attend, hut! Reset, halt! I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order! Halt!
Special Details. Port arms. Ready.
Present! Halt!
Okay. Fire! Roll call. Take ready. Take aim. Fire! Aim. Fire! Present arms.